Hello, welcome to Live with Austin D. Jordan. I'm your host, Austin D. Jordan, and it is my pleasure to introduce you to my lovely co-host, Miss Nova Kemp.
Hello, everyone. Good to be back for another week. Excited about the show.
Yeah, this show is a pretty cool show. We have an award-winning high fashion photographer, videographer, fashion event producer, actor, model, and a social media giant. If you ever see this guy on Twitter, you will understand. I think he has over 2 million followers now on Twitter. So without further ado, Mr. Sean Maxwell.
Hello, everyone. It's great to be on the show with Austin and Nova. Thank you very much for having me.
Well, it is completely our pleasure, my friend. Completely our pleasure. So let's get started, man. Because you're an artist, and you guys artists are just kind of mysterious and very cool. So let's kind of start in the beginning. When did you? Well, we'll first start about. Let's talk about your acting career, because you were in a pretty cool movie. So if you could kind of just tell us how you got casted for it, or when you got into acting. And then we'll get into some more relevant things that you're doing now in just a moment.
Well, it all first started one day. I decided, okay, let me try something. Just wanted to be different and to venture out and do something different in my life. So there was a casting for some music videos, which I saw online somewhere. Decided to go to the audition for that. Got casted for that. So ended up doing 2 music videos in one weekend. It was like April sometime. It was like very cold in Atlanta, so we were doing these music videos that weekend. It was just like bone-chilling cold, and I can remember the ladies there. They were they had to be dressed appropriately for this music video, so they were like freezing their tails off. But anyhow, I did those 2 music videos in one weekend, and on the second video that I was doing, I was like a model dance extra, so I actually had to do some dancing as well. So on the second video that I was doing on a Sunday, I was during the filming, course of the filming, there was a film producer there, and he saw me and he approached me and said, filming something coming up next week. I think you would look great for the part. So he invited me to come out and try film for that, and that's how that kind of was a stepping stone to my film career, my acting career, and that actually that particular episode that I filmed, it was actually the lead-in to a television show in Atlanta called Atlanta Homicide, which I played a coroner on a number of different episodes. So that's how the ball got rolling.
That's pretty wild, man. And it's one of my clients a long time ago told me that you're always auditioning in everything, whether you know it or not. It's always an audition because you never know who's going to see you. So it's kind of like you producing those or working on those music videos. You found a producer and bam, go straight into acting. So that is very awesome. Speaking about getting into other things, let's get into these super awesome pictures that you take. Very.
Hold on. I want to interrupt something. You want to know how I got into Deadland? I mean, that's kind of an interesting story behind it as well. Because Deadland was a feature film. I was just browsing online, Craigslist. I was like, because you got to be careful of Craigslist because what feature film is going to be advertising casting call through Craigslist.
I don't think I've ever heard that.
Yeah, and they were like casting for females. And I'm like, okay, I'm not a female, but let me just go ahead and send them, an email, say, hey, if you need any male actors, I'm available. And sure enough, I got back a message, hey, come on, show up for we're filming tomorrow, show up. That was it. So
wow.
That's how I pretty much got in. And then I got a pretty good part in the film where I had to, shoot the star of the movie. So that was such a key role I got in that film. I was just really happy about it. It just worked out in my favor.
Yeah, that's really crazy how that worked out. I would kind of misunderstood. I thought that you were going into that right there. I thought that's what we were talking about a minute ago. But no, you found Deadland on Craigslist.
Craigslist, yeah.
Wow.
That's different. All right, but hey, it worked out. I mean, you did, like you said. I mean, I know from looking at your IMDb. I mean, it was a really good role you had. I mean, basically a co-starring role for
supporting role, kind of. Yep.
Yeah, so it's pretty wild.
then
But
I've done some other stuff like for Tyler Perry. I had a pretty good role on his TV series Meet the Browns. One of the episodes there, I had a good role because I had to directly interact with the star of the show, Mr. Brown. You know, he was about to faint in a hospital scene, and I had to like I was a hospital security guard, and I had to actually come in and physically put my hands around him and prevent him from falling and kind of help him out the room. And being an extra is very sometimes challenging because you're not being an extra. You sometimes are like way in the background, and you're not really interacting with the lead role actors. But in that particular instance, I got to directly interact with Mr. Brown himself, the star of the show.
That's very cool.
So that was another great role I had.
yeah,
Did you find that role on Craigslist?
No, actually, you know, Tyler Perry has his studios here in Atlanta, and I knew who the casting person was for extras, and so you know I would audition for them and send in my submission, my headshot, whatever, and they would call me often. Actually, I've missed a lot of calls from them actually.
Oh, well, that's very cool.
yeah, definitely is. So, I mean, it sounds like you've done a lot with acting, a lot more in your acting career than I actually knew. It's taking me back. Normally, I don't have a guest on or on the show or anything, and you know, but that's pretty crazy that you've done that much.
I've done some stage theater acting as well. There was a Tom Sawyer, I think it was. They played it for like a month every weekend, and I had to acting like back to back, Saturday to Sunday, multiple sessions during the day. And one of the priests, I think it was, or the preacher, he had to drop out, so I ended up having to play like the sheriff and the preacher. And that was challenging because, you know, as you know, in theater, you can't say cut, let's redo it again. It's like live, you gotta like go with it. So to do two different roles was a challenging thing.
Yeah, that's from some people that I've met and stuff, like playing multiple roles in the same film is ridiculously hard. So for those of you out there that don't know, trust me, Sean is telling the truth that it's so demanding, and it's like two completely different people, so it's two completely different mindsets, and it's really, really challenging from everything that I know about it. But
and with acting, I was just going to say, with acting, you have to kind of know the lines of other people as well, because you have to know when you come in, so you have to obviously know their lines too. So it's
a lot of work.
Yes.
Yeah. So when did you get into acting initially? Was that something you did like in high school or?
Oh no. I was actually, it was something that, working in had a full-time job in corporate America, and I would just like, days that I could take off, I would take off and do that. So that, I'd take a day off from work just to do a film. I do that with some of the Tyler Perry films, and so yeah.
Well, that's awesome. So, let's dive into photography for a moment if we can, because I mean, man, you have just glamorous pictures, even including the ones you're in. I'm just kidding. But,
yeah, I have these extras to help me look better. So.
yeah, right. But I do really like your photography, and it's not just because you generally have like hot women, which Mel doesn't like hot women, but I mean the way that you have them to position and the fact that you're in the background sometimes and stuff, you really take it to a whole nother level, in my opinion. And your reviews online and everything are just absolutely insane. Everybody in Atlanta and around that has anything to say about you absolutely loves you and your work. So how did you first get into photography? When did you first discover your love for photography, I should say, actually?
Actually, I had a love for photography from the point when I graduated from high school. And as a graduating gift, my grandfather gave me a film camera. It was a Pentax. And so I would just constantly be taking pictures. I mean, I just love taking pictures of any and everything. Mostly scenery. I love taking pictures of different places. I would go to New York, visit my dad. I'd be taking pictures. Just love taking pictures. I mean, I still do. It doesn't have to be people specifically, but, it'd be like, could be the scenery, the skyline, or just buildings and stuff like that. But I like to take it, not just. I like to get captured at different angles and just to make it. It's just.
Well, you do an amazing job. I mean, like
in fact,
it's.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just going to say on some of my photo shoots, for example, I'll be like maybe shooting in a stairwell. I'll be like climbing on the stairwell. I'll be scaring models. They're like, "Whoa," because I'm trying to capture that different angle.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty crazy. What's some of the craziest like angles or positions you've been in whenever you're doing a shoot? Since you kind of got into that a little bit, let me ask you about that.
Wow. The stairwell was one. Just climbing on the railing and
That
capturing a
does seem
different
pretty
angle.
crazy.
Yeah, I
A
mean,
little
I've
dangerous.
done some videos where I'm actually like in the trunk of a Corvette. Actually, I did a video. I was in the trunk of a Corvette and he's driving down the street. I was just doing some videography,
Oh goodness.
and then the trunk is flying.
Oh man. Yeah, it sounds like a dangerous job. Are you sure you're not like still doing like stunt doubling while you're doing photography and mixing both of them together? Anyway, I got a tricky question for you. Okay, because
I'm
this
not a
this one's
tricky
gonna
answer.
maybe, but this one's a little deeper. So you know how most people are. They're very politically correct, and
These days.
some of your pictures could be misconstrued as being a little racy. Not necessarily in my opinion, but have you ever felt like you couldn't express yourself, or you were limited in expressing yourself through your photography, your art?
If I'm limited anyway, is your question?
Yeah, I mean, do you feel like maybe some of your stuff maybe isn't exactly politically correct, or do you feel like it does fall in that, and like does it ever would being politically correct hold you back from doing shoots, I guess?
Um, I try not to. I try to be as creative as possible and to um, show that through my work and my photography. So, it's just a matter of my being able to express that in a creative way. Um, I don't try to pigeonhole myself. In fact, I don't try to do that with my work because I like to do different things, as you can see. Um, so I do the same with my photography. In fact, people ask me, "Do you do wedding photography? Do you do this kind of photography? Do you take pictures of children?" I'm like, "Yes, I do. I pretty much don't like to limit myself." So, uh, you do have to, be careful, as far as being politically correct, or be careful not to offend certain audiences. So, I just have to be careful of that.
Okay, yeah, that's a good answer because I mean, like, I just think about it like me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know that I'm necessarily politically correct personally sometimes, but it's a matter of respect and things. But with your photography, it's not really an issue. It's just that you do have a lot of very attractive pictures, shall I say? And that
True.
that could I work like me personally. I created Beyond the Pom Poms, and some people had problems with that. And the whole point of that was just to help cheerleaders become real
Sure.
employees. And it's just
Yeah.
like some people just don't like cheerleaders. And let's be honest, some of your ladies look like cheerleaders. Their attire sometimes. So that was where I was coming from there. I
Sure.
didn't
Yes.
mean
I mean, I've heard comments that the work is edgy, but I like to sometimes, I don't know, push the boundaries sometimes, I guess.
yeah.
Well, what is art if you don't push the boundaries, right?
Right. It's yeah,
Yeah.
just the way it is.
Well, well, I think all of your stuff is very tasteful. Personally, I think that you do
Yes.
a fantastic job, and I don't think any of it is racy at all. So that's my personal opinion. This is my show, so there you go. There's one
There
opinion
you
that
have it.
matters. Yeah, right.
It's the only one that
Um,
matters right now. No?
yeah. So, but it's a question because sometimes we hold back or don't say things or necessarily do things
Sure,
just
sure.
because we're afraid of maybe what might come about it and all that stuff.
And my take on it is that, not everyone's going to love my work. Everyone has their own opinions or their own likes. So, I can't cater to everyone. But I'm just going to do the best that I can and be as creative as my being allows me to be creative,
Hmm.
just to be myself.
That's all that anybody can ask is you to be yourself, your best self. So you're doing great. Well, I gotta ask you this: what are your favorite things about being such a well-respected photographer? I know that's a loaded question. I ask because like the reviews of your work are off the charts. I mean, like everybody loves it. But uh, I don't know. So what
There might be a
do
few
you
that don't, but
what's that?
I'm just saying there might be a few that don't, but that's their opinion. Everyone is entitled to their opinion. It's like for example, with Donald Trump, people like him, but obviously there's some that don't. So
Yeah.
Yeah. But what are your favorite things about being such a well-respected? Because I mean, honestly, I haven't seen a bad review about anything, and I mean, I'm very
they're hiding now. Just kidding.
yeah, right. But I'm very I'm a publicist, so it's all about reputation. So you have a tremendous reputation, and you did speak that you don't limit yourself, which is awesome as well. But how does that feel? Because like I'll be honest, me personally, and I would imagine a ton of the the people that are watching out there have no idea like the hierarchy of photography or really truly understand it. And you seem like you are just at the apex of it. I mean, you have 2 million Twitter followers. All of your art is fantastic. All your reviews are fantastic. I mean, it's got to make you feel good, right?
Sure, it does. Can't complain. um, it's just really great to have that good rapport. I like to be interactive with people and to engage with people, followers, and it's good to be respected for my work. And,
Well,
so I'm happy with
well,
that.
let me ask you this: how long have you been doing photography? Like, how long have you actually been? I know you said you kind of basically picked up a camera, as your graduation present, which was awesome. You even threw out a brand out there. But when did you really start getting serious about it? How long have you been serious
Well,
about it?
if I could add on to that question, you said that when you graduated, you were taking pictures. How did you find that leap between just being a regular, everyday, going outside and taking pictures to where you are established
Where
right
am
now?
I today?
Like what happened there, and how did you get to be so world renowned? And
Gosh, oh wow, that's a loaded question there. um, you know, it I think after I had produced a fashion show back in 2008, I think it was. At the time, I wasn't doing photography professionally, but it was shortly after that I think that I started to, hey, because I wanted some modeling pictures and I wanted to, I was like, I already, was taking pictures, on the side or as a hobby, so I was like, I wanted to expand on that and started doing photo shoots and wanted to get better at it and just, kept shooting that, just trying to improve myself, and still a lot of work ahead of, right now, there's always room for improvement, but just try to improve every time and do the best I can and be as creative because, sometimes people think, oh, it's just a photographer, you just show up with your camera and that's it. And
yeah.
Literally, there's some photographers that do that. They just literally just show up with a camera. But for example, with some of my shoots that I do, there's one, for example, the one with the taxi where I'm in the background. There's a lot of planning that goes into that. I mean, I literally have to plan the wardrobe, coordinating the actual taxi, getting that situated and orchestrated. The malls, portable wardrobes, locations.
It's a lot that goes into
Yeah, a lot that
just
goes
one
into
picture.
just a simple photo shoot, just one
Right.
picture, as you say. My very first photo shoot that I did, that I orchestrated was the theme was a couple different themes, but it was three different themes. One was a racing. I don't know if you've seen the racing, where I'm kind of like in a red racing outfit. And in fact, that's my current Twitter profile picture, I believe. So that was my very first actual model shoot that I orchestrated with a theme behind it. And then in that same shoot, we also did a cops and robbers. So I've got, a female model, she's dressed as a robber, and I'm dressed as a police officer. And I've actually mocked up my car as a police car with lights and stuff. Don't tell the police that, but in fact, it's a strange story behind that. We were actually behind a strip shopping mall, and we were in the middle of this scene that we were shooting. That I've got the model, the female model, she's in this pinstriped robber kind of thing, prison outfit, and I'm in the police gear, and my car looks like a police car. And guess who comes by? The police. They're like,
Oh.
"Whoa, what's going on here?" We don't want to ask. Obviously, they knew it was a photo shoot, but it was like, whoa, this is.
Yeah.
They were actually
Oops.
there. They were actually looking for someone who had just shoplifted from one of the stores and happened to come
Oh,
around behind the building and stumbled upon us. It was just funny.
that's funny.
Yeah, that's hysterical, man. Well, I mean,
That
it
is.
sounds like to me like, now that I'm talking to you about this really in depth, to me it sounds like being who you are with photography. I mean, it's like you're a director. I mean, you could basically just direct like a movie. I mean, you're almost like a producer and a director all in one, which is really impressive. I mean, you ever think of a second career there with
Yeah, I really
producing?
thought about, I thought about like when I produced my fashion show, that was a major undertaking. It took me 6 months, no sleep,
Wow.
pretty much single-handedly for the most part, all the way up, from the beginning to near the end. Near the end, I started to recruit people to help me out, but single-handedly had to, location, vendors, sponsors, casting them all myself, training, getting them trained, runway to walking, orchestrating different scenes, orchestrating the talents. There was a lot of different talents that I had for that show. It wasn't just run-of-the-mill kind of talents, but it was really, talents. For example, the Vegas String Quartet, I had them as part of the show. They actually played live during one of the runway walks of one of the fashion designers, and these guys have won like major awards in Carnegie Halls around the world.
Wow.
I've had other talents such as Dinah DeGarmo. She was a second runner-up from American Idol
Yes,
season 2. She was on
I
the show. She
remember.
performed an Aretha Franklin song and
Yeah.
one other song. Um, just a number of different talents because my show was entitled The Diversity of Talents. So I didn't just want to have, because I've been to a number of fashion shows, especially here in Atlanta, and it was just like, okay, fashion show here in Atlanta is just like you have it at a little cafe, a little restaurant, you walk around the restaurant, that's it. I'm like, that's not really a fashion show. I wanted to, so I had to have a company come in and build a runway off of the stage. It was an opera house, really, is what it was. It's a club. It's called Opera, but it looks like a real opera house with fancy lighting and stuff. So a lot went into producing that show and orchestrating that.
Sounds like it.
And I wanted, it was creative. I wanted to be creative about it. So
Wow, that's man, it's breathtaking how much work you do in this stuff. I mean, to me, I took photography before you came on the show. I took photography as, like you said, some photographers just show up with a camera and they just miraculously take great pictures because they've taken so many and they're just really good at it. But man, I mean, you
and a
you
lot of my
really are.
shoots, yeah, a lot of my shoots too. It's actually, like what the models are wearing. It's actually I provide the wardrobe in most cases.
Mm,
Wardrobe styling, the jewelry, and directing the makeup artist to how the model should look and hair. Sometimes I've actually had to do hair sometimes on a shoot. I've actually been trained to do makeup as well, just in case
wow.
sometimes you have a makeup artist that doesn't show. So sometimes I want to be prepared that way to be able to do the whole spiel, so to speak.
That's very impressive.
Yeah, I mean, I think the diversity name of that show was very fitting for you specifically. You sound like a very, very diverse individual. Well, let me ask you this: what are some of your most memorable shoots or events? I know you've talked about several, but what are some of your most memorable ones that really stand out in your mind specifically?
Hmm. Gosh, there's quite a few. um, I really enjoyed traveling places. So when I go somewhere, see a different place, those are always enjoyable. Because I like to be in different places and see different things. In fact, when I went to Toronto, Canada, back in this is back in 2009, I think. But anyhow, when I went there, I rented a studio from another photographer, and he helped me orchestrate. I did some casting, so I did a number of shoots back to back. It's like 2 hours for one shoot. Another model will come in. I did like 4 shoots back to back. It's like a whole day thing, but that was kind of interesting. But it was enjoyable because I got to meet new people. In fact, work with new makeup artists. Um, and then I went back to Canada later on and did another shoot, shot with a tattoo model, and we're trying to get her published in tattoo magazines. We did get her published in 1 or 2 magazines. Um, that's always my goal, is to get published, not just to have a picture to post on Facebook or Twitter, but most times now
Yeah.
it's my goal is to get published with my work. I'm still working on that. That's always a challenge, but you have to know the right people too, and you have to just have the right picture, that right moment in time.
Mm.
But I'm grateful for the publications I've gotten and the publicity I've gotten through Twitter and the exposure I've gotten through Twitter. You know, I've gotten interviews on other radio shows. I've gotten publications through, just being on Twitter. So it's done me good.
Yeah. I mean,
How with you.
How many followers do you have now? I mean, it was like 2 million something, right?
Something
I mean, you're over.
That's amazing.
or something like that. Just when I first started out with Twitter, I was on Facebook quite a bit, and Facebook, far surpassed what Facebook can do for me. When I first started out with Twitter, I was working with a marketing company here in Atlanta. They hooked me up and was like, hey, we're going to help you make some money off Twitter. So my goal was actually to come on Twitter and make money through advertising. I was going to be doing advertising. There's an outlet for that channel to do that. And so that was my initial purpose with Twitter, but I just wasn't finding a niche there to do that. So, so I started, just building on tweeting about people, and just kept building on that, and that's where it got me today. I like to support other people. That's one of the things I like to do.
Yeah, it's working for you. So everybody out there watching or watching this at a later date, there's a secret to Twitter right there. He gave you some, I guess you would call it network marketing. I mean, because you're connecting with each people, and I mean he has people that follow him. I'm taken back by it, and I'm doing all right myself with a couple of things, but Sean has me just looking bad. But
I like to think of it like a farmer. A farmer will, he'll like plant seeds, and hoping, to yield a crop later on. If you don't plant seeds, you're not going to grow anything. So
absolutely. Good.
Looking at it.
Yeah, that's an awesome analogy. All right, man. Well, I did tell you that we would only take like 15, 20 minutes of your time here, and we've run over that because you've been just such
Talking
a good
too much.
guest. And
very interesting.
Yeah. So I definitely don't want to hold you up because I know that you're actually on location working somewhere now, aren't you? Or am I?
Yeah, I'm actually in Atlanta right now. Arrived here yesterday.
Yeah, I remember talking to you on the phone yesterday, and you had all kinds of craziness going on in the background. So he's a very, very busy man. So anyway, but yeah, Sean, if you would, we do greatly appreciate you coming on, man. I appreciate the extra time and you handling some a little bit tougher questions than I planned on asking you. But if you would, tell everyone. Completely our pleasure. Yeah. But if you would tell everybody where they can find you, obviously a lot of people watching probably know where they can find you on Twitter, but if you would go ahead and give that to them and anything else you want to share out there.
It's just Sean Maxwell on Twitter, and my website is Sean-Maxwell.com. I'm on Facebook, Sean Maxwell Photography, and I also have another page which is not too visible, but it's Sean Maxwell Project. That's the Sean Maxwell Project came about when I created my fashion show. That's how Sean Maxwell Project came about. Project being that it's kind of open-ended, allowing being able to do projects of different things, different, diversify basically what it is. So there you have it.
You're definitely a diverse individual, and we greatly appreciate your time and you coming on tonight. So don't work too hard, and hey, I'll be in touch sometime soon, I'm sure, my friend.
Definitely. Take care.
Thanks, Sean. It's very nice meeting you.
Okay. You too.
Have a great night.
Okay.
All right, so that's Sean Maxwell. He is a super diverse individual, very cool guy. Very, very cool guy. Obviously, like I said, he has over 2 million people following him on Twitter, which is just astounding to me personally.
Very talented as well.
Yeah, I mean, his diversity. I mean, literally, he's like a producer, a director, a videographer.
It's amazing to have that much talent inside your head to be able to just manage everything that goes into something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I thought I was spread thin. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm way better at fantasy football than I ever thought I was, which is kind of a segue into the next little segment here. But you know me. I mean, I do like coding and all that kind of fun stuff, but I don't really do that much except for myself because it's just way too much work. Anyway, so yeah, huge shout out to Sean Maxwell for being on the show tonight. Great guest. But let's switch up gears here. Let's get to what I'm popular for publicly, which is fantasy football. I guess we'll just start off. Well, first and foremost, do we have any questions, Nova, for me or you about fantasy football?
Yeah, we have a few questions. Did you want to do the questions now?
Yeah, we'll just go ahead and answer questions and see how many questions we have, and then if we run out, start to run out of time, we'll just call it after we answer some questions.
Okay. I have a question. Jax at Jax_twit asks, who's a quarterback you can draft later on in a draft that might be like a top 10 quarterback? He says, I guess the best value quarterback draft pick.
Those are kind of not. It's kind of a loaded question, like Sean said. That's a tough question. I think the best value quarterback right now, well, it's got to be either Russell Wilson if you get him in like the 6th round, or it's got to be Cam Newton. I actually have Cam Newton as my top 3 quarterbacks. I really like Cam Newton this year, and you get him at about the 6th round as well. So you can get either one of those guys in like the 6th round. You're doing great. Russell normally goes in like the 4th. So I guess all in all, my answer would be Cam Newton in a long-winded roundabout way as usual. Anyway,
Okay.
what else you got?
At Mark Davis 1017 asks, well, he says, great show last week, and thank you for that, Mark Davis.
Yeah, we appreciate that, Mark.
What do you think is going to happen with the Texans' backfield? And he asks, Blue a good later round pick?
Okay. Oh, this stinks. This is not a question I want to answer. I'm really high on Chris Polk. I think that Chris Polk will probably get that job. Ironically enough, I really liked Polk a lot last year, and people forget that he was 2nd on the Philadelphia Eagles team in rushing touchdowns last year. Anyway, like one of my really good friends and I were talking about this just yesterday or the day. All my days run together. I don't know. Just recently. But I really like Chris Polk. I think he may really shock some people. He may be this year's Justin Forsett, which I loved Forsett last year. So, yeah, I mean, is Blue worth a late round pick? Not to me. If you go watch the film on Blue, he was not very good last year, despite what other people think. I think he had his longest carry. I think it was like 28 yards, and I think it was like on a 3rd down play. It was not expected. It was just kind of, it should have never happened type deal. I may be thinking of Carlos Hyde. Never mind. I'm thinking of Carlos Hyde. I'm sorry. Scratch that last remark about Blue. Yeah. No, it wasn't Blue that had the 3rd down and long, the 28-yard 3rd down and long carry. It was. Yeah. Who did I just say? I'm everywhere. All right. Anyway, whatever.
Okay, let's go to the next
enough of the Texans backfield. The answer is Chris Polk. Don't like Alfred Blue. There you go. All right.
Okay, Chris Polk. Jason G at Big Bad J15 again asks, says, Austin, do you like to wait on drafting a quarterback, and which quarterbacks do you think will still be available? So,
Jason, why do you want all my draft strategies when you're in all my money leagues almost? No, I'm just kidding.
Just trying to win.
Well, it doesn't really matter. I mean, I can tell you everybody I like, and it just matters on where you draft in each round is you're going to be able to get them or not. So it doesn't really matter. That's why I don't hide any of this stuff, and I'm just honest about it. I don't necessarily love waiting on a late round quarterback. The truth is I kind of let the draft flow let me know which strategy to use. I have 3 different draft strategies that I use, which I won't give too much insight into for obvious reasons. But if you're going with a late round quarterback, I mean, the risk is worth it this year. I mean, there are tons of quarterbacks going late. I mean, Carson Palmer should throw for over 4,000 yards and 25 touchdowns around. If Sam Bradford is as good as he's been thus far, I mean, he could have a huge season, 4,000 yards and 25, 30 touchdowns himself. So, I mean, that's just 2 guys. I mean, you have Teddy Bridgewater, which I do actually like. You've got Kaepernick, even though I hate his schedule. If he rushes for 800 yards, he's going to be one of the top quarterbacks this season. And he goes very, very late. I think he goes in the 14th round. Jason, you know this. He went in like the 14th round of our last draft, I think, last money draft. But, yeah, I mean, there are so many options in the late round. And Marcus Mariota, I think Jason asked us a question about rookies. last week or the week before, and I said, I'm really high on Marcus Mariota. I was not high on him at all in college, to be honest with you. Winston was the guy. Now, let me clarify that. I'm on public record saying a million times he's got $1 million arm and a 2-cent head. I have no faith in Jameis Winston. Even with the talent he has down there, Marcus Mariota will be the better pro quarterback. I guarantee it. I don't care if it takes 3 years before Winston does something else stupid like he did on the draft day, tweeting the picture or Instagramming the picture of the crab legs. Oh, goodness, that guy. Oh, goodness. Anyway, so, Nova, let's stop asking questions for a second. Let me ask you a question. What do you think about good old Aldon Smith and the San Francisco 49ers?
Well, I mean, I think the 49ers did what they had to do. I mean, Smith's had so many issues since 2012. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, that's pretty much my opinion. I got to be honest, because, I mean, it's like weapons charges. A bomb threat at an airport, which was not real, and he didn't have any charges from that one. But that's still another incident.
Right.
Shot himself in the leg. No, was at a party and, had 3 weapons charges or something. I mean, just it's one thing after another with the guy. I mean, he's super ultra talented kid, but he just doesn't get it. So you do realize why I just now kind of did that, right? Because I segued about the Jameis Winston.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, do we have any more questions?
I have one more question from Travis Caldwell at Trav_solo asks, is it smart to take Gronk in the first round?
You say his name was Travis?
Travis Caldwell at Trav_solo.
All right. Well, Travis, it kind of depends on your league scoring. If it's a PPR league and if it's a head-to-head league, he's probably worth the risk in the first round, even though you don't have Brady for 4 weeks. Whether it's the first 4 weeks or later on in the season, it's probably worth the risk because he's Gronk. He gives you a competitive advantage that nobody else does in fantasy football if you're looking at a head-to-head league. There's no other tight end that's going to beat him by the end of the year. I mean, it's just the way it is. So he pretty much gives you an advantage every single week above that position. But if it's not a PPR league and it's not head-to-head, there's no way I would take him in the first round. It's just not worth it because it's too risky. I mean, because you can get somebody like Eddie Lacy or Dez Bryant or Antonio Brown, depending on where you draft. You could get, if you're drafting at the top half of the first round, you go with Lacy, in my opinion. If you're drafting in the bottom half of the first round, then you're looking for Antonio Brown or Dez Bryant, in my opinion. So, but if you love Gronk and it's a head-to-head PPR league, then I'm cool with you taking him. So, that's just my advice. But fantasy football is all about who you love, who you're passionate about, and what you see. Anyway, did you say that was our last question, Nova?
Yeah, that's our last question right now. So
super. All right. Well, why don't you tell everybody where they can find you? We've been on here for like 40 minutes now. So
okay, you can find me at Nova Kemp on Twitter.
This is true. You can also find you on Google
every night, right? Every Saturday night on Live with ADJ.
Oh, it's just 80. What is up with that? I can't get my name out there. Anyway, I'm just kidding. And I'm Austin Jordan. You can find me on Twitter at Austin D. Jordan. Actually, go to my website. We got some little links over here we're sharing. We were, the official Live with Austin D. Jordan website, and Sean Maxwell's Twitter, my Twitter, Nova's Twitter. I don't know what that is. IMDb. Oh, it's Live with Austin D. Jordan's Twitter as well, and then our IMDb page. So yeah, but I mean, just go to austindjordan.com. There's all the links there. Nova's over there on the left. If you go to austindjordan.com/live, you'll see all Nova's links, all my links, and all that kind of fun stuff. Anyway, we appreciate your questions. Thank you for tuning in or watching at a later date. See you later.
Thanks, guys.
Have a good night.